Hello guys, and welcome to another sewing tutorial. My name is Ihoma Judith, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make this trending shirred, also called smoky 3-layered gathers dress. So if this is something you are interested in and you would love to know how I made it, then let's get right into the video. Okay guys, so I started by folding my fabric into two like this, and to know the amount of fabric you're going to fold in, you're going to divide the largest circumference of your body by 4. So the largest circumference of my body is my hip, which is 44 inches. So divided by 4 is 11 inches, and I added extra 5 inches to it, making it 16 inches. So my fabric unfold, I'm working with the width of 16 inches, so I went ahead to mark that. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead to draw a starting line, okay? So from the top of my fabric like this, I went ahead to rule a straight line. So this is going to be my starting line, all right? So from that starting line, I'm going to go down by 1 inches and mark across the fabric like this. And with my ruler, I'm going to go ahead and connect the marks together, drawing a straight line. So this is going to be my folding allowance line, okay? Okay guys, so now the next thing I'm going to do is from that my folding allowance line, which is that second line, I'm going to go up by 8 inches, which is my chest line measurement. And I'll mark down to my shoulder to waist measurement plus 3 inches. So my shoulder to waist measurement is 18 inches. So plus 3 inches is 21 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and mark at that 21 inches. So I added extra 3 inches to that my shoulder to waist line because I want my gather dress to be a low-waisted gather dress, okay? And also to know what your chest line measurement is, you divide your bust round circumference by 4, and whatever you get, you add 1.5 inches to it, okay? So whatever you get, you go up by that number under your allowance line, and you mark down to your shoulder to waist measurement plus 3 inches for a low-waisted gathered dress, or you add extra 1 inches if you just want a high-waisted gathered dress, okay? So like I told you, my shoulder to waist measurement is 18 inches plus 3 inches is 21 inches. So I went ahead to mark that across my fabric like this, and with my ruler I drew a straight line, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and mark across my fabric with the width of 16 inches that I'm working with. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark it down like this, and with my ruler I'm going to go ahead to connect the marks together. Remember that our fabric is on fold, okay? So now that I'm done, I'm just going to go ahead and cut through that line, okay? So I'm going to start from my starting line to the side line like this, and to the down line like this. Very simple. So we have cut out the front piece, so we are going to go ahead to repeat the same process to cut out the back piece. So placing my front piece on top of my fabric like this, remember that my fabric is on fold. I'm going to go ahead now and trace out the lines, cutting out the back piece. And with that, we have finished cutting out the back piece. So as you can see, we got 2 pieces. So I also went ahead to just indicate the wrong side of my fabric, okay? So if you open up our fabric, we are going to be getting a width of 32 inches. So now the next thing we are going to do is to go ahead and fold down the top of our fabric by that our sewing allowance of 1 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and fold it in by half an inch, fold it in again by half an inch, and sew straight down the top of our front piece. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same process on the back piece. I'm going to go ahead and fold in the top of the back piece by that our sewing allowance of 1 inch, fold it in by half an inch, fold it in again by half an inch, and sew straight down, okay? Okay guys, so I've gone ahead to fold down the top of my fabric, and this is what it's looking like. I also went ahead to do the same on the other piece, okay? So now the next thing we are going to do is to go ahead to mark out lines on our fabric piece, okay? So this is the lines where we are going to be sharing our dress, or rather creating that gathers with our smoking thread. So turn your fabric to the right side, okay? So I'll be drawing out the lines on the right side of my fabric. So from the top of my fabric, I'm going to be going down by half of an inch, and I'm going to go ahead and give a spacing of half an inch straight down to the downside of my dress, okay? So we are giving a spacing of half an inch straight down to the downside of our dress, okay? So after that, I went ahead with my ruler to connect the lines together, creating this straight line like this, okay? So while I was doing this straight line, I decided to just do one part completely first before going ahead to do the other part. And remember that we are drawing all these lines on the right side of our fabric. Okay guys, so I've gone ahead to draw out the lines completely on my fabric like this. I also went ahead to do that on the other piece of my fabric. So this is it on the right side. I went ahead to draw that line. If you notice, on the top and the downside of my fabric, I gave a spacing of more than that 1/2 of an inch, but don't worry, while sewing I will go ahead to leave that 1/2 an inch on both the top and the downside of my fabric. Okay, so guys, this is my smoky thread. So we are going to be reeling the smoky thread on our reeler. Okay, so I have gone ahead to already reel my smoky thread on my reeler, and I did that using my hand. Okay, so go ahead and reel it out. Don't drag the thread, just gently roll your smoky thread on your reeler like this, and when you're done, you go ahead and fix it on your shuttle and go ahead and fix that on your machine. Okay guys, so on my sewing machine, on the top we are going to be making use of a normal thread, okay, not a smoky thread, while on that shuttle we are fixing our smoky thread. Okay, so on the top of your machine you're going to go ahead to fix a normal thread, okay, while the downside, which is where the shuttle is, we are going to be making use of our smoky thread. Okay guys, so I've gone ahead to place my fabric on it. So we are going to start on the first line. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and sew. Don't you drag your fabric so much, just go ahead and sew straight like this. Okay, so if you notice at the end I did not cut my thread, I just went ahead to just turn my fabric again. So just go ahead and turn your fabric like this and sew straight on the line. So we are going to go ahead and be sewing on that line that we marked out. Okay, so if you follow this method, sewing your smoky thread on your fabric is going to be easier for you. Okay, so there's no need cutting out your thread when you get to the end of your fabric. Just turn your fabric and follow the line. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and just show you what I have done so far. Okay guys, so this is what it looks like so far. So you can see the smoking effect, that is the shrinkage. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue the rest of camera and show you the after result. Okay guys, so this is the after result, as you can see. And on the top and the downside of my fabric, I left just 1/2 an inch spacing. Okay, so look at how the shrinkage is. So I don't know if you can see it, but on the inside, that is where you'll be seeing your smoky thread more, while on the outside you just be seeing the normal thread. So I also went ahead to sew down my thread on the other fabric piece. Okay, so now that we are done with our two piece, so we are just going to go ahead and place both fabric on top of each other like this, right side facing the right side, and I'm going to go ahead and sew straight down by 1/2 an inch on both sides. Okay, so go ahead and sew straight down by 1/2 an inch. Open up your fabric like this, place it together, right side facing the right side, and sew straight down by 1/2 an inch on both sides. Okay guys, so I've gone ahead to sew down both sides by 1/2 an inch. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn over my fabric to the right side, and this is what we'll be getting. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and keep this aside so that we can work on the downside of our dress. Okay guys, so for the downside of my dress, I went ahead to bring out my lining, as you can see, and my lining is on fold. So to know the width of the lining piece you'll be cutting out, you're going to still use that same width we use in our upper bodies. Remember, I used a width of 16 inches. So that 16 inches, I'm going to multiply it by 4, and I got 64 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out a width of 64 inches. Okay, so remember that my lining is on fold. So on fold, I cut out a width of 32 inches. So if I open it up, I'll be getting a width of 64 inches. Okay, so now to know the length of the lining you'll be cutting out, you first of all place your tape on the top of your lining piece like this, with the length of that your main bodice that you measured earlier. So remember, the full length of my main bodice that I measured earlier was 21 inches. So I placed my tape at that 21 inches. So I'm going to mark down to the full length of my dress. So the full length of my dress that I'm working with is 37 inches plus 1 inch sewing allowance, which is 38 inches. But I'm not going to be marking exactly at that 38 inches. I'm going to come up by 3 inches and mark at it. So if I come up by 3 inches, I'll be getting 35 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark at that, okay? So when you place your tape down to the full length of the dress you're working with, come up by 3 inches and mark, okay? So after I marked it out, you can see, so if I measured it out, I'm going to be cutting out my lining at 14 inches at the length, okay? So after that, I went ahead to connect the marks together like this, and with my scissors, I went ahead to cut through that lines, okay? So I'm going to be using this other side as the top of my piece, okay? So now we're going to go ahead and create lines where we'll be fixing our pleating, or where we'll be creating our pleating with our fabric, okay? So the top is the first layer. So from the top, I'm going to go down to 5 inches. So this is going to be where the second layer is. And from that 5 inches, I'm going to still go down to 6 inches, and that's going to be where my third layer is going to be, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and repeat it on the other side like this, and I'm going to go with my ruler and connect the marks together, creating the line. So I'm just going to go ahead and open up my lining piece like this, repeating the same process, creating my lines. So this top side is my first layer, then the first line is my second layer, then the next line, which is the last line, is my third layer. So now, to know the length of how you'll be cutting your fabric piece, remember from the first layer to the second layer, the spacing is 5 inches, but I'm going to be adding 3 inches to my fabric length. So I'll be cutting the fabric piece at 8 inches by length, okay? So now for the second layer, the spacing from the second layer to the third layer is 6 inches, as you can see, but we are also going to add extra 3 inches to our fabric piece. So I'll be cutting out a length of 9 inches for the fabric piece for the second layer. So now for the third layer, how you're going to know the length of fabric you'll be cutting out, you're going to place your tape on the top of your lining piece at the full length of your main bodice. Remember, the full length of my main bodice was at 21 inches. So I placed my tape at 21 inches at the top of my lining piece like this, and I went ahead to mark out where the third line is meeting at my tape. So the third line is meeting at my tape at 32 inches. So remember, the full length of my dress is 38 inches. So if you count down from 32 to 38, you can see that you're going to be getting 6 inches for the length. But I'm going to be adding extra 2 inches for both my folding and joining allowance, which is 8 inches, okay? So I hope you're understanding. Okay guys, so I went ahead to cut out the fabric piece I'll be using to create my pleating on my lining piece. So I'll be starting off with the third layer, that is the downside. So remember that we are going to be cutting out a length of 8 inches. So this is the length of 8 inches. And as you can see, my fabric is on fold. So for this longer fabric, the width here is 46 inches. So I'm going to open it up, giving me 2 pieces from it, while this other one, the width here is 33 inches. I'm also going to go ahead and open it up, so it's going to give me 4 pieces, okay guys. So as you can see, I've gone ahead to open them up like this, giving me 4 pieces. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and join them at the side like this. So right side facing the right side, I'm going to go ahead and join them at the side, creating this long piece, okay? Now I have also went ahead to cut out for the second layer, which is the middle part, and the fabric width is the same with the third layer, that is the downside. So as you can see, I cut out 2 fabric pieces and they are on fold. So this one is at 33 inches in width, as you can see, and it's on fold, while this other one is 46 inches in width and it's also on fold. So the difference between this second layer and the third layer is the length. So the length here, remember we said we are going to be cutting it out at 9 inches. So this is what I cut it out at 9 inches, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and open up my fabric piece like this, giving me 4 pieces. And like we did earlier, I'm going to go ahead and join them at the side, right side facing the right side, creating this long piece, okay? And now for the top layer, which is the first line, I went ahead to cut out 2 fabric pieces, as you can see, and they are both on fold, and I went ahead to cut it at length 8 like we measured earlier. Okay, so the width of this my fabric is 46 inches for the both of them. So I'm going to go ahead and just open them up like we did earlier, giving me 4 fabric pieces like this. And I'm also going to go ahead and join them at the sides like this, right side facing the right side, creating this long piece. Okay guys, so this is for the downside, that is the third layer. As you can see, I've gone ahead to join down the sides, right side facing the right side. I also went ahead to fold down the hem of the fabric. As you can see, I folded it down straight down by 1 inch. Okay, so now the next thing we are going to do is to go ahead and pleat this on our lining. All right, okay guys, so I've gone ahead to bring my lining. So this fabric, we are going to be using this to pleat on the third line, which is the third layer. Okay, remember that this fabric is for the third layer. So right side facing the lining like this, I'm going to place the top of my fabric upward like this. Notice how I'm placing it upward. I'm going to go down from that line that I drew by ½ an inch like this, and notice how I'm leaving excess of my fabric out. Okay, so I'm leaving about 1.5 inches out. Okay, so now on that lining, I'm going to be starting not exactly from the beginning, but like maybe ½ an inch spacing. Okay, so I'm using my chalk to just give out where I'll be starting. Okay, so I gave a spacing of ½ an inch. So I'm going to be placing my fabric on the line, like below the line by ½ an inch like this, and I'm now going to go ahead and create my pleating, sewing it straight down. I hope you're understanding. So I'm going to go to the sewing machine and demonstrate what I mean. So if you do this like this, when sewing it down completely, you're going to now drop your fabric and it's going to be facing downward like this. Okay, so when I'm sewing straight down and I get towards the end of the other side, I'm also going to leave about 1.5 inches fabric like this, and I'm going to end by ½ an inch like I did on this other side. Okay, so now I'm just going to demonstrate what I mean. So look at the mark I gave a spacing of ½ an inch on that lining. Okay, and as you can see, I'm going to leave about 1.5 inches excess fabric out. Okay, so I'm going to start my pleating from that mark that I gave like this, and I'm now going to go ahead and sew straight on it. Okay, so make sure that you're giving an excess allowance on your fabric and both on your lining like this. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and place this on my machine like this and sew. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue creating my pleatings like this. Okay, so notice that I placed my fabric below that line by ½ an inch like this, and I also started on that line that I marked. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and continue creating my pleating and sewing straight down by ½ an inch like this until I get to almost the end of the other side like this. Okay guys, so this is what I've gotten so far. So if you drop down your fabric, you're going to be getting something like this. Okay, also note that there is no particular size of my pleating, so I just eyeballed it, so you can decide to make it bigger or smaller, all depending on you. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish this up. All right, okay guys, so as you can see, I've finished creating my pleating on my lining. So if you drop it down like this, this is what you're going to be getting. So like this, we have completed the full length of our dress. Okay, so notice that I gave 1.5 inches spacing on my fabric and ½ an inch spacing on the lining. I also did the same thing, giving a spacing of 1.5 inches on the fabric piece, and on the lining I left about ½ an inch on the other side like this. So now the next thing we are going to do is to go ahead and repeat the same process on the second line. Okay, so this is my fabric piece. As you can see, I've gone ahead to join down the sides and also went ahead to fold down the hem of the fabric. Okay, so like we did on the third layer, I'm going to give a spacing of ½ an inch on the lining piece and 1.5 inches on the fabric, and I'm going to go ahead and place my fabric piece upward like this from the top of my fabric, placing it ½ an inch down the line that we marked. And also make sure you place this right side facing the lining. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and pleat my fabric like this, and I'm going to go ahead and sew straight down like we did on the third layer. Okay guys, so as you can see, I'm done sewing down the second layer. that is the middle layer. And as you can see, I left 1/2 inch on the lining and also 1.5 inches on the main fabric, and I also did that on the other side. Okay, so now if you just bring down your fabric, this is what you'll be getting. Okay, so now the next thing we are going to do is to go ahead and create our pleating on the top layer. Okay, so on the top of my lining, I'm also going to go ahead and give a spacing of 1/2 inch. Okay, so this is the fabric I'll be making use of, and I've gone ahead to join the piece together, creating this long fabric. I also went ahead to fold down the hem of my fabric. Okay, so now we are going to just place it the normal way, this time around wrong side of the fabric facing the lining like this. And we're going to go ahead and start our pleating from that mark that we gave, giving an excess allowance on our fabric by 1.5 inches like we did. And we're going to go ahead and create our pleating like so on the lining and sew straight down, doing the same thing on the other side. Okay guys, so as you can see, I'm done creating my pleating on the first layer, giving that 1/2 inch spacing on the lining and 1.5 inches on the side, and also the same thing on the other side, 1/2 inch spacing on the lining and 1.5 inches spacing at the fabric. Okay, so now the next thing that we are going to do is to go ahead and join the linings together. Okay, so right side facing the right side, I'm going to go ahead and bring the lining piece together. Make sure that you push in those your fabric piece, because we are going to be joining just the lining. So we are going to go ahead and sew straight down by 1/2 inch. That is that allowance that we gave on the lining. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and sew straight down on it. Make sure that you're not sewing on the main fabric. Okay guys, so I'm done sewing my lining piece together by 1/2 inch, and this is what I got. So now I'm just going to go ahead and turn my fabric piece to the right side like this. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and join the main fabric piece together. Okay, so now on the first layer, I'm going to go ahead and pick the both ends together like this, right side facing the right side, and I'm going to go ahead and sew 1/2 inch straight down. And I'm also going to go ahead and repeat that on the second layer. Pick down the both ends like this, sew straight down together like this, right side facing the right side by 1/2 inch, and also repeat the same process on the first layer. Okay guys, so I'm done joining the two sides of my main fabric together, and as you can see, there's an opening on the fabric piece like this. So I'm just going to go ahead and pleat my fabric piece on my lining like this and sew straight down. So I'm going to do that on the 3 layers like this. Okay, so make sure that you open up your lining piece properly, then balance your main fabric on it like this and sew down that opening that you got, creating your pleating on it. Okay, so this is what I mean. Open up your lining piece properly like this, and on that opening on your main fabric, you go ahead and pleat it and sew straight down, and do that on the 3 layers. Okay, so guys, this is the final result. I've gone ahead to pleat down that opening on my main fabric like this. Okay, so there's something else I want to show you. This is another method. This is optional. So before you join down the 2 sides of your layer fabric like this, I also went ahead to loosen the hem by about 1.5 inches like this, and I'm just going to go ahead and sew straight down. So after sewing straight down the side, I'm now going to go ahead and finish up the hem of my fabric like this. Okay, and I just did that, and as you can see, this is another result. Okay, so like I said, you can stick with the other method if you don't really understand what I mean. Okay guys, so now the next thing we are going to do is to go ahead and create 4 points on the waistline. So this is going to help us fix this on the main bodies. So from that joining, I created 1 point like this, and I'm going to bring both sides like this, so it's going to give me 2 equal sides like this. So these 2 sides, I'm going to go ahead and mark those 2 points like this, and I'm going to go ahead and join them together and mark these other sides like this. I hope you're understanding. Just follow the video. So with that, now I've created 4 points on the waistline of this down part. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my main bodies like this, and on the both sides of the waistline like this, I'm going to create 2 marks like this and join them together, then mark out the other sides that I got, 2 sides, creating 4 points. So this is going to help us join these upper bodies to this downside. Okay, so right side facing the right side, I'm going to pick one point like this and join them together. So you can decide to pin it down to hold it in place, okay? So after that, now I'm just going to go ahead and sew straight down. So I'm going to drag the next point of my upper bodice to meet the next point of the downside like this and sew straight down. And we're going to do that all around the 4 points, joining the upper bodice to the downside like this, okay? So I'm just going to go to my sewing machine and explain better so you can see what I mean. So as you can see, I've placed both points together like this, and also the next point I've joined them together. So right side facing the right side like this, I'm going to go ahead and sew on it by 1/2 inch and sew straight down. So notice that I'm dragging that my upper bodice to stretch it so that it can meet the down part like this. So make sure that you're putting it 1 point facing 1 point like this, and you're going to go ahead and sew. Okay, so now we have gotten to the next point like this. As you can see, it's joining together. So we are going to go to the next point like this. Make sure that we are joining the upper bodice to the lower bodice, making sure that the both points are meeting each other like this, and we are going to go ahead and sew straight. Okay, so I'm going to do this all around the waistline like this. All right. Okay guys, so I'm done sewing around the waistline like this, joining the upper bodice to the downside like this. And if I open it up, this is what I'll be getting. So the dress is already coming out, looking very cute and nice. Okay, now so the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to fix my strap. Okay, so this side is going to be the front of my dress. Okay, so now from the side of my dress, I'm going to come in by 3 inches and mark, and I'm also going to go ahead and do that on the other side. From the side, I'll come in by 3 inches and mark. Okay, so this is going to be the points where I'll be fixing my strap. All right. Okay guys, so I've gone ahead to cut out 2 fabrics I'll be using to create my strap, and the length is 33 inches for the both of them, while the width on fold is 2.5 inches. So that means if you open it up, the width is 5 inches. Okay, so with my fabric on fold like this, I'm just going to go ahead and sew down one end by 1/2 inch and sew down the sides by 1/2 inch. Okay, so I'm going to do that on the both fabrics. Okay guys, so this is it after sewing down one end and sewing down the side by 1/2 inch. As you can see, I left the other end open. Okay, so I'm just trimming off the excess fabric here so that my strap relax more. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn in the fabric the inside out like this. Okay, so I'm just making use of my scissors because this is wide enough. So just turn out your fabric like this, inside out like this. So after you're done, you're going to get something like this. So I'm just going to go ahead and iron it down properly. Okay guys, so as you can see, I'm done ironing my strap. So I'm going to pick one of my strap like this. So that open end of the strap, I'm going to be placing it on that place that I marked. So I'm just going in by 1.5 inches on my dress like this, and I'm going to place my fabric on it like this and sew twice on that mark. So I'm going to repeat the same thing on the other side. On that point where we marked where we'll be fixing our strap, I'm going down by 1.5 inches like this, place my strap on it and sew twice on that mark. So with that, we are done. Okay guys, so as you can see, I'm done fixing the strap. Our dress is almost ready. So we're just going to go ahead and fold down the hem of my lining like this. So you fold it in by 1/2 inch, fold it in again by 1/2 inch and sew all around. Okay guys, so as you can see, our dress is all ready, looking all cute and nice. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. I hope you love this tutorial. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I do hope to see you in my next video.